Hey guys, so I am new to the whole YouTube video making thing, and I never thought I'd have to do it until this particular situation, so y'all gonna have to bear with me. But I wanted to talk through this particular diagram today. So this is showing you essentially the inside of a chloroplast. So we know that chloroplasts are these tiny pigment-filled organelles that work in conjunction with the mitochondria, specifically in plant cells or in other photosynthetic organisms, right? So if this is my chloroplast, the job of the chloroplast is to take in solar energy and convert it then into chemical energy or sugar that can be used to generate ATP later in the mitochondria. So we're focusing in specifically on this process of photosynthesis. So if you look at this diagram for me, the first thing you're going to see right up here is sunlight coming into my chloroplast. So the plant cell is absorbing this sunlight, and you can see that kind of lightning looking arrow, and it's coming into a stack of what looks like buttons or discs. Those discs are called thylakoids, and thylakoids are literally little pigment pillows that stack up inside the chloroplast, and it's the location where the light reaction of photosynthesis takes place. So to backtrack a little bit, photosynthesis has two major reactions. It has the light-dependent reaction, or the light reaction, and it has the light-independent reaction, or the Calvin cycle. And those names tell you everything you need to know about them. The light reaction takes in sunlight. The dark reaction, or the Calvin cycle, does not. So if you're looking at your light reaction, the sunlight comes into the thylakoid, those little pigment pillows that absorb that sunlight. Together, this whole group is called the granum. The granum is just a stack of thylakoid. And this sunlight is being used to break apart water. We know that all plants need water. They typically store them in their central vacuole. And as that water goes into the light reaction, oxygen is produced as a byproduct. Oxygen is useless to this plant, okay? We, as humans, love oxygen. We obviously need that oxygen as an animal. However, plants don't need it. Instead, it's breaking apart that extra oxygen off of your H2O, specifically because it wants the hydrogens, the H2. And you can see what it's doing with them here in the center. So you have your NADP+, and the NADP+ is picking up one of those hydrogens and becoming NADPH. The plus means it has an opening to pick up a hydrogen. We're adding the hydrogen in that we stripped off of the water molecule, and we're making NADPH, okay? NADPH is an energy carrier or a hydrogen carrier, and it's essentially taking that hydrogen over into the Calvin cycle where we're going to then use it again. The last thing being made here is ADP plus phosphate. We talked about that in class. ADP plus P, which is a less powerful version of ATP, is getting converted into ATP. So some of you are saying, well, why are we going any further? We just made the energy that we needed. And the answer to that is, yes, you did make ATP, but it's not enough. The cell actually needs a lot more ATP than just the little bit you can make through the light reaction. So think about it as paying the piper kind of a thing, right? So if you put a little bit of energy into it, you're going to get a whole lot more energy out later when we go into the electron transport chain. So I've made some ATP, but I'm going to donate that ATP and the NADPH that I just made into my Calvin cycle, my light independent reaction, okay? So ATP and NADPH go in along with CO2, because remember, plants need CO2. The carbon dioxide goes in conjunction with all of this stuff, and it joins it all together to create glucose. So glucose is C6H12O6. So we have C's, H's, and O's. Look at this, I have CO2. What's the only thing that's missing? I have the C, I have the O, but I don't have the H. That's where this guy comes into play. Remember, we just took that H off of H2O and put it into this carrier, sticks it in here to produce that sugar molecule, and it comes back out as NADP plus again, right? And it's a circular cycle. It goes back into the light reaction, and this is going to continue, okay? Last little thing you'll see here is stroma. Sorry, I forget this thing is a touchscreen. You'll see this is called the stroma. Stroma is essentially the fluid-filled space inside of the chloroplast. So whereas the light reaction takes place in the thylakoids because we need those sunlight absorbing pigments, the Calvin cycle takes place outside of it. It's just floating around in that fluid-filled stroma. Okay? Hopefully this does a kind of decent job of explaining this process. Please ask questions. I know, unfortunately, we're in a kind of complicated little unit for us to be doing from home, but we're going to figure it out. So let me know if you have any questions, and this should help you with your couple of assignments for this week. Make sure you take a look at your updates and stuff on Schoology, and it'll give you some more tips and hints about how to proceed. Have a good day, you guys.